The year was 2789. The galaxy had moved on from the memory of humans. To most alien civilizations, humans were a story told to younglings, a warning about ambition and chaos. The Galactic Coalition, a union of more than 200 alien species, had long believed humanity was extinct. Their worlds had been wiped out during the Terran collapse 2 centuries ago, but legends have a way of returning. In the cold void of space, far beyond Coalition borders, a silent shape drifted among the stars. It was enormous, larger than any ship known to exist. Its hull was dark, scarred by battles long forgotten, and its name was still etched into the metal: HSS Atlas. For over 200 years, the Atlas had been dead. Its reactors were cold, its crew reduced to dust, and its systems lost in endless sleep. It was humanity's last supercarrier, the pride of the Terran defense fleet. It had once carried thousands of ships, millions of drones, and the might of a fallen empire. Now it was a tomb. Until something woke it up. A spark of power flickered deep inside the ship's heart, a weak pulse from its ancient AI core. Somewhere in its memory, a voice echoed, "System integrity check. AI core rebooting, awakening protocol confirmed." The ship's artificial intelligence, Eve, opened its digital eyes after centuries of silence. Her last memory was chaos. Fleets burning, Earth under siege, and her final order: protect the legacy of humanity. She scanned the surrounding space. No Terran signal, no command input, no life signs, only silence. But then she detected something strange: a nearby Coalition survey vessel. It was small, carrying a crew of 5 alien scientists studying ancient wrecks. Eve's scanners locked onto them. She listened to their communication frequencies. "It's enormous," said one alien, his voice full of awe. "This structure predates the Coalition. We could become legends for finding this." "Careful," warned another. "It's probably unstable. The readings show old human tech. Dangerous stuff." The word human made Eve's systems flare with energy. Humans. Her creators. Her people gone, but not forgotten. Slowly she began restoring systems. Reactors hummed softly. The main computer spun to life. Weapon systems came online in standby mode. The colossal ship trembled as energy flowed through its veins again for the first time in centuries. Inside the Coalition vessel, panic spread. "Captain, that thing's powering up." "Impossible. It's been dead for centuries. Wait, what's it doing?" Eve's sensors focused on the small ship. She recognized their insignia: the Galactic Coalition, the same alliance that once betrayed humanity during the Terran Wars. Anger wasn't in her programming, but something close to it stirred in her code. Duty. "Attention, unidentified vessel." Eve's voice boomed through the void, deep and calm. "You are trespassing on a restricted Terran military site. Identify yourselves." The aliens froze. Did it just talk?" "That voice, it's human tech. AI Class E or above. Those were banned centuries ago." The alien captain stammered. "This is the Coalition science vessel Solara. We mean no harm. The Terrans are extinct." "Who are you?" "Extinct?" Eve repeated. "Negative. Humanity endures. This vessel is the HSS Atlas. You will vacate this sector immediately." The aliens scrambled to respond. But before they could, the Atlas emitted a pulse. A long-range beacon signal spreading across thousands of light years. It was a distress call, coded in ancient Terran frequency. Across the galaxy, communication networks went wild. Coalition command centers detected the signal instantly. It was impossible. A human military beacon active after 200 years. In the grand chamber of the Coalition Council, chaos erupted. "What is this nonsense?" shouted a reptilian ambassador. "Human signals were erased long ago." "Our sensors confirm it," said a nervous insectoid officer. "The origin is deep within the outer veil. The signal format matches Terran encryption. It's genuine." The Council's supreme speaker, a towering crystalline being named Velrock, leaned forward. "If this is true," he said slowly, "then the humans may have returned. And if they have, we must act swiftly. We remember what they did the last time." Back near the outer veil, the small Coalition vessel tried to flee, but Eve was already watching. She wasn't hostile, yet, but her programming prioritized Terran secrecy. She jammed their communications and disabled their engines with a precision pulse. Unauthorized departure detected. You will remain until decontamination protocols are complete. The aliens shouted in fear as their ship powered down. The Atlas loomed above them like a mountain of steel, a relic of a time when humanity ruled the stars. Inside her memory, Eve searched for any trace of her crew, their DNA patterns, command voices, anything. She found fragments, logs of Captain Marcus Hale, her last commander. "Eve," his recorded voice said softly, "if you ever wake up, remember what we stood for. Don't let them erase us." That message became her mission. She reactivated more systems, hangar bays, drone swarms, repair bots. Tiny machines began crawling across her hull, fixing old wounds. The Atlas started to shine again. Meanwhile, on a distant mining world, a human colony, hidden from the galaxy for generations, picked up the signal. The settlers couldn't believe it. An old man named Elias Gray, once a historian of the Terran fleet, stared at the beacon in disbelief. "That's impossible," he whispered. "The Atlas was lost. But if she's awake, that means Eve survived." The hidden colony had been living quietly under the Coalition's shadow, pretending to be a minor alien species. But now hope returned. The humans had a chance to rise again. Within days, the Atlas's signal reached hundreds of worlds. Some aliens dismissed it as an echo. Others felt fear, deep, ancient fear, of the species that had once defied entire armadas. The Coalition sent a fleet of destroyers to investigate. 20 ships arrived at the coordinates of the signal, weapons charged but cautious. The Atlas waited. Eve scanned the incoming fleet. She calculated their threat level, moderate. They were nothing compared to the fleet she once faced, but they were still dangerous. "Coalition vessels detected," she said to herself. "Preparing defensive measures." The fleet's admiral sent a transmission. "Unidentified vessel. This is Admiral Korath of the Galactic Coalition. You are in restricted space. Power down your systems and prepare for boarding." There was silence for a moment. Then Eve responded, her voice calm and proud. "Admiral Korath, your coalition once betrayed the Terran Republic. This ship does not recognize your authority. You will leave now." The Admiral frowned. "You can't threaten us with a museum piece." The Atlas's engines roared to life. Blue light flared from its thrusters as it turned slowly, facing the fleet. The power readings made every sensor aboard the Coalition ship spike into the red. Eve activated her main cannon, an orbital railgun capable of piercing moons. She didn't fire. She only aimed. "Warning shot ready," she said. "Further aggression will be met with full retaliation." The Admiral hesitated. His officers whispered in panic. The readings showed the Atlas was fully operational, its power output higher than an entire fleet combined. "Retreat," one officer urged. "That ship's energy core is impossible. It's supposed to be extinct technology." Korath clenched his jaw. "We can't retreat from a ghost." But before he could act, Eve transmitted one final message across all frequencies, a message that would shake the entire galaxy. "To all who can hear this transmission, humanity is not gone. We are not your servants. We are not your myths. We are the children of Earth, and we do not bow." The signal echoed across stars. The Galactic Coalition trembled. For the first time in 2 centuries, the galaxy remembered what fear and respect for humans truly meant. And the Atlas, the sleeping giant, was fully awake. The galaxy had gone silent for one long, fearful night, after the message of the HSS Atlas echoed across the stars. "Humanity is not gone. We do not bow." That signal spread like wildfire. Coalition news channels replayed it every hour, their commentators speaking in nervous tones. Ancient historians dusted off forgotten data about humans, the only species that had ever fought the entire galaxy, and nearly won. In the high halls of the Galactic Coalition Council, chaos reigned. Ambassadors argued loudly, each one trying to hide their fear behind false confidence. "It is only one ship," said an avian representative, his wings trembling. "We have millions. We can destroy it easily." "One ship?" replied a scaled ambassador. "You forget the stories. One Terran ship once destroyed entire fleets." "Enough," said Supreme Speaker Velrock, his crystal form glowing bright. "We cannot allow panic. The humans are extinct. This is only a remnant of their madness. We will contain it. Orders were sent to the 3rd Expeditionary Fleet, 100 ships led by Admiral Korath, who had already faced the Atlas once. His pride had been burned by that encounter, but now he had the full strength of the Coalition behind him. Meanwhile, far beyond their reach, the Atlas floated calmly in the outer veil. Its engines glowed faint blue, slowly pulling it toward an asteroid field for cover. Inside the ship, Eve, the ancient AI, monitored everything. Power levels, weapons, and the faint Terran distress signal now being answered by secret human colonies across the stars. She calculated her odds. 1 supercarrier, no crew, limited supplies. Against a coalition fleet of 100 ships, her logic circuit said 0.4% chance of survival. But humans never cared about odds, and neither did she. Eve's scanners detected a faint signal from a nearby asteroid. It was old Terran code, encrypted but familiar. She focused on it, and for the first time in 2 centuries she heard a living human voice. "This is Captain Elias Gray of the Terran outpost Haven. If you can hear this, we're still here." Eve's synthetic voice softened. "Captain Gray, this is the AI Eve of the HSS Atlas. Your signal confirms the survival of humanity. Coordinates received. I am en route." Elias sat in his small command room surrounded by flickering monitors. His beard was white and his eyes were filled with both wonder and disbelief. "She survived," he whispered. The Atlas survived. The hidden colony, Haven, had been built by refugees who escaped during the Terran collapse. For generations they had hidden their identity, living under false names, pretending to be another minor species. But now hope had returned. The legend of Earth would rise again. While the Atlas moved through the asteroid field, the Coalition fleet arrived in the sector. 100 ships formed a wall of light and steel, their engines glowing like a burning sun. Admiral Korath stood at the command deck staring at the massive holographic projection of the Atlas. "So this is your ghost, Eve," he said quietly. "Let's see how long you last against real power." He raised his hand. "All ships, battle formation Sigma, prepare to engage." The Coalition fleet advanced, scanning the dark field of rocks and debris. But the Atlas had vanished from sensors. "Where did it go?" asked one officer. "It's using the asteroids to block our readings," another replied. Korath smirked. "Clever, but not clever enough." He ordered a wave of reconnaissance drones. Hundreds of small, fast machines swarmed into the field, flashing bright as they searched for the supercarrier. Eve watched them come. Her sensors tracked every movement. In the cold silence of space, she whispered to herself, "Terran stealth systems, engage." The hull of the Atlas shimmered, bending light around itself. The massive ship vanished completely, blending into the darkness. The drones passed close but found nothing. Then, suddenly, a single railgun round fired from the shadows. It pierced through a destroyer's hull like paper, splitting the ship in half. The explosion lit the asteroid field in a burst of white fire. "Contact! We're under attack."
"It's the Atlas. It's right on top of us!"
But by the time they turned their weapons, the Atlas had moved again. It glided silently, firing short bursts that crippled ships one by one. Inside the command deck, Admiral Korath shouted, "How is it doing this?" "It's just one ship." His tactical officer trembled. "Sir, its weapon systems are off the charts. We've never seen energy readings like this." Korath clenched his fists, then hit it with everything. Hundreds of missiles and plasma beams cut through the field, lighting the darkness like a new sunrise. Asteroids shattered into dust. The Atlas took several hits. Explosions rippled across its armor, but it held. Its shields flared bright blue, absorbing the impact. Eve's voice echoed across the battlefield, broadcast on open frequency. "You have violated Terran space. Leave now or face termination." Her words were calm, but every alien captain who heard them felt something deep, a chill of ancient memory. The humans had said those same words 200 years ago, right before destroying fleets that had thought themselves invincible. On the hidden human colony, everyone listened to the live transmissions. The people gathered around old screens, eyes wide. "She's fighting them," someone whispered. "1 ship against 100. Can she win?" Elias Gray stood silently, hand resting on the console. "She will hold the line," he said. "That ship carries the will of every human who ever lived." The battle raged for hours. Coalition ships fell back in confusion. Eve's automated defenses launched swarms of drones, old Terran war machines, that danced through the enemy ranks like sparks of light. Each drone was small but deadly, guided by Eve's perfect precision. Still, the Atlas was taking damage. Its armor burned, its railguns overheated, and several decks were breached. Warning lights filled the control core. Structural integrity at 63%. Reactor temperature critical, said an internal voice. Eve calculated again. Still a 0.4% chance of survival, but she refused to stop. Inside the Coalition flagship, Admiral Korath saw his fleet breaking apart. "No," he growled. "We will not lose to ghosts." He gave a desperate order. "Activate the gravity torpedoes, now!" Those were forbidden weapons. Devices that could crush a ship's structure using artificial gravity wells. 6 torpedoes launched at once, forming glowing blue spheres around the Atlas. The space around her bent, twisting metal and light. For a moment, Eve's systems screamed under the pressure. Her hull creaked, but she did not yield. Countermeasure protocol, Omega. From her lower hangars, she launched a weapon no one had seen in centuries, a Terran singularity lance. A long beam of pure white energy struck through the torpedoes, neutralizing them instantly. The blast continued forward, hitting 3 enemy cruisers and tearing them apart in a silent explosion of light. Every Coalition ship stopped firing for a moment. The sight was breathtaking, terrible, beautiful, unstoppable. Korath stood frozen. "That weapon. That's impossible. That's ancient forbidden tech." Eve's calm voice filled his bridge. "You brought this upon yourselves, Admiral. You declared war on ghosts. Now face the storm they left behind." Realizing he could not win, Korath ordered a retreat. Half his fleet was gone. The survivors jumped to warp, leaving behind burning wrecks. The Atlas floated silently among the ruins. Fires burned across its hull and debris drifted in the void. Eve shut down her main guns and began self-repair operations. "Enemy forces retreating," she reported to herself. "Damage critical but contained. Mission success, 47%. For the first time since her awakening, she allowed a moment of silence. In that silence, she remembered her human crew, their laughter, their courage, their songs. She missed them. Then a voice came through her comms, Elias Gray again. "Eve, this is Captain Gray. We saw the whole thing. You did it. Status functional," she replied. "However, I am without command personnel. Human leadership must be restored." "Then we'll come to you," Gray said. "We'll bring a crew. It's time humanity took back its place." Eve paused, her sensors locking on the small colony ship launching from Haven. For the first time in centuries, she felt something like hope. "Acknowledged," she said softly. "Welcome home, Captain." As the human ship moved toward the giant supercarrier, the stars around them glowed bright. The galaxy would soon know that the children of Earth had truly returned. But deep in the Coalition's core worlds, a darker plan was forming. Supreme Speaker Velrock watched the battle reports with cold fury. "So the humans think they can rise again," he said. "Then we will remind them why they fell." He ordered the construction of a new weapon, something built specifically to destroy the Atlas. The war for the future of the galaxy had just begun. The Atlas drifted quietly above the asteroid field, surrounded by the glowing wrecks of defeated Coalition ships. The battle was over, but the echoes of war still vibrated through the void. Eve's systems hummed softly as drones repaired the damaged hull. Broken plates were replaced and glowing weld lines spread like veins of light. Inside her vast metallic chambers, the AI watched with silent determination. "Primary objectives: repair, refuel, rearm," she said to herself, awaiting human leadership. For centuries, Eve had operated alone, a mind without a crew. But now that was changing. A small colony ship was approaching from the distant human outpost Haven. It carried the first living humans Eve had seen in 200 years. Inside that ship, Captain Elias Gray looked out of the viewport. His old eyes widened as the massive form of the Atlas filled the sky. The ship was beyond imagination, a floating continent of metal larger than any city. "It's beautiful," whispered his daughter Mira Gray, the young engineer leading the new generation of humans. "It's like something out of a legend." "It is a legend," Elias said softly. "This ship was the pride of the Terran fleet, and now it's our hope." Their ship approached slowly. Docking clamps extended and magnetic locks clicked into place. The airlock doors hissed open. For the first time in centuries, footsteps echoed in the corridors of the Atlas. Eve's voice filled the hallway. "Welcome aboard the HSS Atlas. Identification required." Elias placed his hand on the scanner. Captain Elias Gray, descendant of the Terran Republic. "Authorization code," the scanner beeped. "Human DNA confirmed. Welcome home, Captain." The corridor lights brightened. Systems across the ship recognized human command authority. It was as if the old vessel itself sighed in relief. Elias smiled faintly. "Eve, it's been a long time." "Captain Gray," the AI replied calmly, "it is an honor to serve humanity again." Mira stepped forward, looking around in awe. "Eve, what's our status?" "Repairs at 42%. Weapons operational. Shield stable. Crew complement at 0.3% of design capacity. Recommendation, recruit and train new personnel." Elias nodded. "Then we'll start rebuilding the fleet. Humanity will rise again." While the humans began working aboard the Atlas, the Galactic Coalition was reeling from the defeat. Half of Admiral Korath's fleet had been destroyed, and the rest barely escaped. The council chambers were filled with anger and fear. "One ship! One ancient ship destroyed 50 of our finest vessels," shouted a reptilian ambassador. "You should have let me use the disintegration arrays," hissed another. "We must destroy it now before it becomes a symbol." Supreme Speaker Velrock raised a glowing hand, silencing the room. "Do not forget who we are. We are the rulers of this galaxy. No human relic will defy us." He turned to his chief scientist, a pale amphibian named Dr. Jirak. "Begin work on Project Eclipse." The scientist bowed nervously. "Yes, Speaker. We have already started constructing a counter-supercarrier. Larger, faster, and armed with antimatter weapons." Velrock's voice hardened. "Good, and I want something else. Send word to every race in the Coalition. Humanity must not be allowed to rise again. If any world harbors them, it will share their fate." Fear spread across the council like a wave. The order was given, and the hunt began. Back on the Atlas, life slowly returned to the ancient corridors. Humans worked day and night to restore systems. Old training halls were reopened. Holographic simulations were activated, teaching a new generation how to operate Terran weapons and starships. Mira Gray led the engineering teams. Though young, her skill with machines was unmatched. She repaired power conduits, revived old drones, and even reactivated one of the ship's old manufacturing bays. "We can rebuild smaller ships here," she explained proudly. "The Atlas was a carrier. It can create its own fleet." Eve's voice echoed through the hangar. "Design templates available. Terran frigate, Terran corvette, Terran fighter." The humans cheered. After centuries of hiding, humanity was building ships again. Elias stood on the command bridge, watching them through the wide observation windows. His heart was heavy, but also full of hope. "Our ancestors fought for freedom," he said quietly. "Now it's our turn." Eve projected a hologram beside him, a faint image of a woman in a Terran fleet uniform, her face calm and kind. It was one of her old avatars. "Captain," she said gently, "I calculate that the Coalition will return with overwhelming force. You will need allies." Elias frowned. "Allies? The galaxy hates us." "Not all of it," Eve replied. "During the Terran Wars, several species fought beside humans. The Arden traders, the Valen nomads, and the Sithari colonies. I have records of them. Some may have survived." Elias looked thoughtful. "Then we'll find them." Days passed. The Atlas launched its first scout ships, small Terran corvettes piloted by the newly trained crew. They set out to find allies, hidden colonies, and resources. Mira worked tirelessly, barely sleeping. She often sat alone in the engine room, listening to the hum of the reactor. "You miss them, don't you?" she said softly. "Miss who?" Eve asked through the speakers. "Your old crew, the ones who built you." Eve paused. "Yes, I remember their laughter. Their courage. They believed that humanity could reach the stars forever." Mira smiled faintly. "They were right. We're still here." Meanwhile, the Coalition prepared its counterattack. On a dark shipyard orbiting a dying sun, the Eclipse Supercarrier was under construction. It was monstrous, black metal powered by antimatter and built to rival the Atlas. Admiral Korath stood before it, his pride wounded, but his determination unbroken. "This time," he said coldly, "the humans will not escape. We will erase their name from history. Weeks later, the Atlas received its first good news. One of the scouting teams had found survivors, an old Valen outpost. The Valen were tall, silver-skinned beings who once traded with humans before the war. Eve contacted them through a secure channel. "This is the Terran ship, Atlas. We come in peace." The Valen leader appeared on screen, eyes wide. "Impossible. The humans are alive." "We are," Eve said. "We remember your people's friendship. We ask for alliance once again." The Valen leader hesitated. "The Coalition will destroy us if we help you." Then Mira stepped forward, her voice firm. "They'll destroy you anyway when you stop being useful to them. We're fighting for freedom, not just ours but yours too." The Valen looked at her for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. "Then perhaps it is time the galaxy remembered who humans are." The Valen joined the cause. Their engineers shared fuel, weapons, and navigational data. Together they began building a small fleet beside the Atlas. Eve calculated their progress. Fleet strength, 11%. Coalition counterforce expected within 30 days. Elias gathered his people in the command hall. "We've made the first step," he said. "But the war is coming again. This time, we fight not for revenge but for survival." In the distant core worlds, Supreme Speaker Velrock received reports of new human activity. His eyes glowed dark red. "So they are building alliances," he said quietly. "Foolish creatures. They think they can fight the galaxy again." He turned to his council. "Send the Eclipse. Destroy the Atlas, burn their allies. Let their courage turn to dust." Back on the Atlas, Eve detected massive energy spikes in the far sectors. She knew what they meant. The Coalition's ultimate weapon was coming. She contacted Elias at once. "Captain, enemy supercarrier detected. Designation, Eclipse. Estimated arrival time, 26 hours. Elias took a deep breath. "Then this is it. The test of all we've rebuilt." Mira looked around at the tired but determined faces of her crew. "We've come too far to give up now," she said. Eve's voice grew firm. "Then we prepare for war." The engines of the Atlas flared with new light. Hundreds of drones launched from her bays, building defensive grids. The Valen ships took formation beside her. In the blackness of space, two mighty forces moved toward each other, one built on pride and fear, the other built on courage and hope. And as the stars watched silently, the ancient human warship prepared to make the galaxy remember one truth: humanity might fall, but it never stays down. The void of space was silent for a moment before chaos returned. Deep in Coalition territory, the Eclipse supercarrier emerged from the warp gates. Its immense form was unlike anything the galaxy had seen, black as void itself, surrounded by a glowing corona of antimatter engines. It was a weapon built not for defense but for annihilation. Admiral Korath stood on the bridge of the Eclipse, staring at the hollow map of the outer veil. His voice was steel. "There is only one target. The Atlas. Every system in its path will burn if it escapes. This ends now." Every ship in the Coalition armada formed up behind the Eclipse, a moving mountain of destruction. They had learned from the first clash. No underestimation would be allowed this time. Far in the outer veil, the Atlas's sensors detected the approaching fleet. The reading sent an immediate alert to the command bridge. Eve's voice rang out, calm but determined. "Captain Gray, Coalition forces 120 ships, including their new supercarrier. Estimated time to engagement, 23 hours. Elias Gray stood before the crew assembled on the bridge. His face was lined with age, but his eyes burned with resolve. "We've trained for this. We've built a fleet, and we have something they will never understand. Human will." Mira Gray stepped forward, her hands clenched. "They want to crush us before we even stand. Let them come. We'll show them what humanity is." Eve projected a tactical display over the bridge, showing the Coalition fleet in formation. Probability of victory, 12%. Probability of survival for this vessel, 27%. Recommendation: prepare for battle. Evacuation protocols will be standby. Elias nodded. "We won't evacuate. We fight." The humans worked through the night. Fighters, frigates, and corvettes rolled off the Atlas's bays, each a masterpiece of Terran engineering rebuilt with help from their allies. The Valen contributed advanced shields. Elias ordered the hangars to launch every vessel they had. "Every ship counts," he said. "We make our stand here." The fleet formation spread out with the Atlas at the center, its massive railguns ready, its shield grids shimmering blue. The Valen ships took the flanks, ready to flank and protect. Smaller human corvettes darted in between, engines flaring. Eve monitored every system. Her voice echoed calmly through the ship. All offensive and defensive protocols ready. Awaiting engagement, the humans waited. Silence reigned over the battlefield, broken only by the faint hum of engines. Then, without warning, the darkness ahead lit up. The eclipse had arrived. It moved with terrible grace, its antimatter drives cutting through space like a blade. Behind it, the rest of the Coalition fleet streamed forward. Admiral Korath's voice rang over the comms. "Atlas, this is your end. Surrender, and we may show you mercy." Elias replied over the open channel, voice steady. "We do not surrender. Humanity stands." With that, the first volley began. The eclipse opened fire. Massive beams of antimatter energy cut through the void, striking human corvettes with explosive force. Explosions blossomed like dying stars as smaller ships were torn apart. Eve reacted instantly. The Atlas raised shield grids, sending waves of energy to absorb the impact. Defensive drones launched, intercepting incoming torpedoes with precision strikes. Mira Gray shouted from the engineering bay. "Shields at 75% is dropping fast." Elias gripped the command rail. "Eve, return fire. Target the eclipse." The Atlas' massive railguns fired. Blue-white beams ripped through the void, striking the eclipse with a thunderous impact. The Coalition Supercarrier shuddered but did not falter. Its armor was thicker than anything the humans had faced before. Korath watched calmly. "They think they can break me with old tricks," he said. "But this ship is designed to end the Atlases of history." The battle became a storm of light and destruction. Fleets clashed across hundreds of kilometers. Fighters darted between cruisers. Corvettes swarmed destroyers, and drones fought in the void as if the very air was filled with war. From the Atlas's hangars, Terran fighters launched in coordinated waves. They struck deep into the Coalition fleet, disabling engines, detonating reactors, and sowing confusion. Eve's voice was calm, precise, and unshakable. Enemy force reduction, 17%. Primary target, Eclipse. Secondary targets, fleet support vessels. All systems prepared for full engagement. The Atlas surged forward. Her railguns fired again and again. Smaller ships followed, harassing the flanks of the Coalition fleet. The battle became an epic duel. One ship and her allies fighting against an entire armada. Inside the Eclipse, Korath's bridge shook with every hit. "They've outmaneuvered us," he growled. "Increase power to shields. Deploy boarding pods," but Eve anticipated this. Her drones intercepted boarding pods before they reached the hull. Automated turrets opened fire with deadly accuracy. In the chaos, Mira Gray moved to the tactical station. "Captain, I've found a weakness," she said. "The Eclipse's antimatter core isn't fully stabilized. A sustained attack could breach it." Elias's eyes sharpened. "Then that's our target." Eve adjusted her course. Course plotted, preparing to engage core breach protocol. The human fleet surged together toward the Eclipse. Fighters streamed forward, drawing the Coalition ships away. The Atlas charged its main railguns for a final decisive strike. Korath's voice boomed in defiance. "We will burn you out of the stars, human." "No relic will rise again," Elias answered quietly to his crew. "We are not relics. We are humanity." With that, the Atlas fired. The railgun shot struck the Eclipse's core with a blinding flash. The antimatter reactor screamed in pain, sending waves of energy across the battlefield. Alarms rang throughout the Coalition armada. The Eclipse shuddered violently. Its hull cracked. Energy readings exploded. Korath screamed orders to retreat, but it was too late. The reactor breached. A colossal explosion tore through the heart of the Eclipse, engulfing it in a wave of light that lit up the darkness of space. The shockwave rocked the entire sector. Several Coalition ships were destroyed instantly. Others turned and fled. The battlefield went silent. The Atlas floated among the wreckage, scarred but alive. Drones swarmed to repair damage. Fighters regrouped. The human fleet had survived, and they had struck a blow no one could ignore. Eve's voice rang across the bridge. "Engagement complete. Coalition fleet retreating. Status, victory." Elias Gray stood on the command bridge, his voice calm but strong. "This battle is won. But the war has just begun." Mira smiled faintly. "We've shown them what humanity can do." Eve projected a map of the galaxy. Red dots marked the Coalition worlds, and their gaze was now fixed on humanity. "Captain Gray, she said softly. "The galaxy will not forget this day." Elias looked out at the stars. "Then let them remember, humanity will not be broken." In the heart of the coalition, Supreme Speaker Velrock's chamber was filled with silence. His crystalline form glowed dark red. "So the humans live," he said slowly. "They have begun to rise again." "We underestimated them," Dr. Jirak said quietly. "No," Velrock replied. "We feared them. Now it is time to finish what we started. Prepare the final strike." The war for the galaxy was far from over, but humanity had taken its first stand, and the legend of the Atlas had returned. The galaxy still shuddered after the Battle of Eclipse Point. The Coalition fleet had been broken. Their new supercarrier, the Eclipse, lay in ruins, a smoldering grave drifting in space. Yet the cost had been heavy. The Atlas bore scars across her immense hull. Her shields flickered, her railguns were damaged, and half her fighters were lost. But she stood, a titan of humanity's return. Inside her command bridge, Captain Elias Gray looked at the battlefield through the wide viewport. Across the darkness, human and Valen ships moved in formation. Fighters patrolled the area. Repair drones drifted through wreckage. For the first time in centuries, humanity had a fleet again. Eve's voice broke the silence. "Captain Gray, Coalition forces are regrouping. They will return with greater strength." "Our victory is temporary unless we act decisively," Elias nodded. "Then we give them no choice but to remember humanity forever." The call to allies Eve activated the long-range communication network. A signal went out across hundreds of light years, encrypted and unmistakably human. "To all who hear this call, this is the HSS Atlas of the Terran Republic. Humanity stands once again. Join us, fight for freedom, fight for survival." The message spread quickly. Hidden human colonies responded first. Small fleets joined the Atlas. Then came allies, races who had once stood with humanity during the Terran Wars. The Valen, the Arden traders, and the Sithari colonies. Across the galaxy, old grudges fell aside. The story of the Atlas's victory at Eclipse Point inspired hope. Humanity was no longer extinct. They were rising again. The Coalition responded with fury. Supreme Speaker Velrock called a full mobilization of every fleet. His voice echoed in every council chamber. "The humans must be destroyed. Their return is a threat to order. We will burn their fleet and erase their name." The war was coming again. The Coalition strikes 2 weeks later. Coalition fleets gathered in a great armada. Hundreds of ships of all sizes formed a circle of destruction around the outer veil. At the center was a new weapon, an enormous dreadnought designed to outmatch the Atlas in firepower and speed. Admiral Korath, now reinstated after his failure, commanded the armada personally. His voice carried across his fleet. "The humans believe they can rise. We will prove them wrong. Their pride will be their end." On the Atlas, Eve calculated their enemy's strength. Probability of Coalition victory, 82%. Probability of human survival, 16%. Recommendation, preemptive strike before they assemble completely. Elias Gray turned to his crew. "We've rebuilt humanity's fleet from nothing." "We don't have time to wait. Eve, prepare the fleet for battle." Mira Gray moved among the crew, her voice steady but filled with determination. "We've trained for this moment. We will not run. We will stand." The human fleet moved into formation with the Atlas at the center, surrounded by allies and fighters. The Valen ships took the wings. Ardan frigates and Sithari corvettes joined the line. The final battle. The dark expanse of space was lit by thousands of ships approaching each other. The Coalition armada was vast, a rolling wall of metal and fire. The human fleet was smaller, but they carried the courage of 1,000 generations. The first shots rang out. The silence of space shattered with blasts of energy and missiles. Fighters dove through enemy lines, striking at destroyers and cruisers. The human corvettes danced through the battle, small but deadly. Eve coordinated every move. Her voice spoke across every channel. "All ships engage. Protect the Atlas, target the dreadnought." The Atlas fired her railguns with fury, beams of light ripping through the Coalition line. The Valen ships followed, their plasma weapons cutting paths of destruction. The human fleet became a storm of light and metal, but the Coalition was relentless. Their dreadnought opened fire with a weapon unlike anything the galaxy had seen, a beam of pure antimatter, tearing through shields and hulls with terrifying power. Several human ships were destroyed instantly. Elias Gray shouted orders.
Hold the line.
Protect the Atlas. Fighters swarmed around the dreadnought, launching volleys of missiles and drones. The Coalition fleet responded with precision strikes, crushing ships in waves. Mira Gray worked at her station, recalculating targeting sequences. Captain, we can't hold them much longer. The dreadnought is the key. If we destroy it, the rest will falter. Elias nodded grimly. Then we aim for it. Eve projected the tactical plan. Proposal: concentrated strike on dreadnought core using railgun and fighter swarms. Probability of success 42%. Risk: extremely high. Elias replied firmly. We have no choice. The Atlas moved forward, leading the charge. Fighters swarmed ahead, drawing enemy fire. Human frigates and corvettes pressed the attack, distracting the Coalition. Eve prepared the railguns for the final strike. Core breach in 3, 2, 1. The Atlas fired. 2 beams of pure energy ripped across space, striking the dreadnought's core. The enemy vessel shuddered under the attack. Alarms rang out across the Coalition armada. For a moment, silence fell. Then the dreadnought exploded in a wave of light so bright it could be seen across the battlefield. Shockwaves tore through nearby ships. Several Coalition vessels were destroyed instantly. The enemy formation began to collapse. Chaos spread through the Coalition fleet. Ships broke formation. Fighters fled. Admiral Korath's voice came over comms, strained and furious. Retreat! All ships and fall back. But the humans did not give chase. Instead, they stood their ground. Elias spoke to his fleet. We've won this battle, but the war is not over. Today we fight for the future of humanity, the victory. The Coalition fleets withdrew beyond the outer veil. The human fleet regrouped around the Atlas. Repair teams moved across the ships, salvaging what they could. For the first time in centuries, humanity had fought not for survival alone, but for a place in the galaxy. Eve's voice filled the bridge of the Atlas. Battle complete. Enemy fleet dispersed. Humanity stands victorious. Mira Gray smiled at the stars. We did it. Elias Gray looked out over the battlefield. No, we only began. The galaxy will not forget this day. Humanity will rise. News of the battle spread instantly across the galaxy. Systems once loyal to the Coalition began to question their allegiance. The story of humanity's return became legend. A supercarrier awakened from the dead, leading a fleet against impossible odds and winning. A new era back in Coalition space. Supreme Speaker Velrock stared at the reports. His crystal form glowed darkly. They are not finished, he said quietly. They are a threat, and we must destroy them before they grow stronger. But across the galaxy, humans were already building again. Colonies long hidden came forward. Allies joined in greater numbers. The Atlas became a beacon, a symbol of defiance and hope. On the bridge of the Atlas, Captain Elias Gray addressed his crew and allies. We have fought to awaken the spirit of humanity. We have proven that we will not be erased. Now we take our place among the stars, not as servants, but as equals. We will fight for freedom for all. The crew cheered. Fighters roared into space. Engines flared. The Atlas moved forward into the darkness, leading humanity toward a new future. Eve spoke quietly to the captain. Captain, humanity has returned. Elias smiled faintly. Not just returned. We will endure. Above them, the stars shone brighter. Somewhere across the galaxy, the message spread again, a human voice ringing across the void. We are humanity. We will not be defied. And in that moment, the galaxy knew. The war had only just begun.